Good morning. Sorry. My name's Hayley Gavin. I'm the Director of Planning and Development Services. Just for the benefit of anybody watching this recording at a later date, we were having technical difficulties with the YouTube live streaming, so we've recorded this MPC meeting via Microsoft Teams. Thank you.
Good morning. With all the technical difficulties, I'll call the meeting to order at 9:23 a.m. And we'll all notice that our wonderful chair, Mr. Merchant, is not with us today, so please bear with me as I try and muddle my way through this one. So welcome everyone to May 28th Municipal Planning Commission meeting for MD of Bighorn. Just a few ground rules and expectations today for today's process before we get underway. Number one, reminder that everything is recorded, we hope. So remember when speaking, be conscious of the information you're releasing and always use the microphones if you can't hear yourself up in there and no one online can hear you. Order of the meeting will adopt the agenda, review the minutes from the last meeting on March 26th, and then hear presentations from administration. And after each presentation from administration, the applicants, landowners, and the representatives can speak to their application if they'd like to. Applicants are not required to speak before the commission. After each presentation, commissioners will have the opportunity to ask questions of administration and the applicants. Once that's done, if the applicants feel they need to rebut, we will allow one chance for anything that has been presented. Number 4, commissioner will make a motion to approve, amend, or defeat the application as it was presented. Commissioners will vote in favor or against, and the decision will be announced. There is an appeal timeline following the decision, so if you do not agree with the decision as an applicant or an affected party, please speak to administration to confirm the process for appealing any decision made today. That will be it for the part of the meeting that is of interest to the members of public. Any applicants present, then we'll wrap up the meeting with administration regarding any outstanding business. Again, with the microphones nice and clearly into them. Make sure your little light is on. Thank you, administration, for no handhelds this time. Commissioners, this meeting is scheduled to run from now until noon. If the meeting runs over time and you need to leave the meeting, we ask you excuse yourself between the application presentations and not during a presentation or deliberations and the question time that follows. Thank you. So, number 1. Commissioners, adoption of the minutes. Oh, I thought we did the agenda. Sorry. As I said, I'm going to muddle my way through this with help from admin. Any additions to the agenda, deletions?
Through the chair, you will have received 4 additional attachments for development permit number 2025-019. And that is attachment 11 and 12 that was previously emailed, I believe, on Monday. And then there's attachments 13, 14, and 15 that were handed out this morning, and they will be attached to the minutes as a schedule. That's the only change that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to accept as amended? Mr. Clark?
Make the motion.
Thank you. Now we're going to go on to adoption of the minutes from the March 26th MPC. Any errors, omissions, comments?
As I recall, they're complete, so I can move to so adopt as written.
Wonderful, thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank you. So item D, business arising from the minutes. Um, Anything from members? No? Okay. On to E, development permits issued. They were in our package, and I'll get an omnibus motion to accept as information. Mr. Clark? For items E1 through 7. Thank you. We have to do an all in favor, right? Okay. So this takes us to development permit applications. We'll start with DP 5422.
Good morning, members. My name is Heather Moore, Planning and Development Officer with the MD. Today, I am presenting for your consideration the application for an extension, the extension number 1 to development permit 5422. The permit was originally approved by this commission on August 30th, 2023, and the applicant, VL Harvest Land Developments, is now seeking a time extension to continue progress on a large visitor accommodation development located at 950 Harvey Heights Road. The purpose of today's presentation is to review the applicant's request to extend the existing development permit, which currently includes approval for 131 visitor accommodation units, a single staff accommodation unit, and 101 square meters of amenity space in the form of a fitness center. The permit also includes an approved variance of 2.7 meters to the maximum allowable building height under the Highway Commercial District zoning for Harvey Heights. The applicant is requesting that the development permit be extended to December 31st of 2027 to support continued development activity at the site. Since the original approval in August 2023, the applicant has made progress on the project. Notably, they have completed condition 11 of the original permit by entering into a development agreement with the MD, which was finalized in January 3rd of this year. The applicant is currently working to secure an irrevocable letter of credit as required under this development agreement. However, the issuing bank has indicated that the letter of credit cannot be issued until the development permit extension has been issued. The applicant has provided 2 primary explanations for the delay in the project timeline. First, finalizing the development agreement required coordination with the town of Canmore regarding servicing connection fees. This intermunicipal collaboration took longer than anticipated and delayed the ability to finalize that development agreement. Second, the applicant has experienced further delays due to a change in their contracted construction company. These circumstances are not uncommon for projects of this scale, and administration considers them reasonable justifications for requesting an extension. As per the standard practice, development permits are valid for 24 months. Within that period, the applicant is expected to obtain building permits and begin construction within the first 12 months and to complete the development with the remaining 12 months. In this case, the applicant is requesting to extend the timeline in order to maintain an active permit status during the ongoing construction phase, rather than allow the permit to lapse. Planning and Development Services has reviewed the extension request and is in support of the approval. However, we are proposing that the extension be valid for the standard 24-month period from the date of approval, as granting a 24-month extension aligns with the standards of development permit approvals. Additionally, at this time, administration is also recommending 2 amendments to the existing conditions of approval. These are administrative in nature and are intended to ensure consistency with the development agreement and existing development permit conditions. The first amendment is to condition 55. This condition originally required payment of connection fees by a specified date in March of 2024. We are recommending that the language be revised to refer directly to the registered development agreement, which provides a more accurate and enforceable framework for the collection of these fees. The second recommendation is the addition of condition 61. This new condition will require the applicant to submit a construction management plan to the development authority, a construction management plan to the development authority for review and written approval prior to the commencement of construction activities. This aligns with section 1.1N of the development agreement. Time extensions to valid development permits do not require neighbor notification under the municipal development plan or the land use bylaw. Similarly, no additional referral process is required since the terms and conditions of the development are not changing, and these requested amendments are administrative in nature. Based on the information provided and the applicant's progress to date, Planning and Development Services recommends that the Municipal Planning Commission approve a 24-month extension to Development Permit 5422, commencing on May 29th, 2025. We further recommend that the amended condition 55 and new condition 61 be included in the updated permit. All other terms, timelines, and conditions of the original development permit shall remain in force and effect unless specifically altered through this extension. I'm available for any questions. Thanks.
Any questions for administration?
Carolina, that's for the commission. I have a question relating to all other requirements under the original development plan. Does that mean, for example, the road use permit, fire safety plans, the TELUS utility right-of-way agreement, will those mean to be done by August 30th of 2025?
So yes, any requirements that were, no, so sorry, let me back up. The requirements that you're referring to that were conditions of the original development permit will still apply to this permit, but they will not be bound to an August 30th, 2025 deadline.
To confirm they'll have the new extension applied.
Correct.
And then one more question.
Mhm.
So now the new requirement for a construction management plan,
Mhm.
is that, I have two parts, I guess. Is that already in the process? And alternatively, how long will that usually take for then construction to be able to commence?
So the construction management plan was a condition of the development agreement that was registered on title. A construction management plan, there's not really a structured timeline. It's up to the applicant to put that together and then submit it to administration before they break ground. So this plan has to be in place and has to be approved by our third-party engineer prior to breaking ground. So the time that takes it depends. Terrible answer, but it depends.
Thank you.
I have a question. I don't know whether it's apropos at this stage or not, but as a resident of Harvey Heights, I'm intimately familiar with this property. And I was surprised to learn at the latest AGM of the Harvey Heights Community Association that 183 parking spaces would be built below grade in what has clearly been a high-risk flood zone. That was a couple of meters underwater in 2013, and has anything like that been taken into consideration in the design of this facility?
Yeah, through the chair. Excuse me. So just to kind of bring us back into focus, today's meeting and the focus of the application is merely a time extension to allow the construction to take place. The engineering reports and application was thoroughly reviewed prior to the development permit being issued. And I'm sure that we as administration could point you in the right direction to see that information, as it would be public on the drive as part of the, or excuse me, on the website as part of the original development permit.
I'd appreciate that. Thanks.
No problem.
Edmund, do we have the applicants here or online? Oh, and would you like to, time to speak? You don't have to. Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity. Okay. Any further questions? Someone prepared to make a motion?
I will motion to allow this time extension to take place based on administration's suggestion of a 24-month and also with the amendments to conditions 55 and 61.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving forward, we now have development permit 9822. Administration for your presentation, please. I'm going to remember, while you take a sip of water, I'm going to remember, do we have the applicant here or online? Okay, thank you.
Yes, our applicant is on Teams.
Excellent, thank you. I will remember in a more timely manner.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. Good morning again. Again, I'm Heather Moore, Planning and Development Officer with the MD. I will be presenting for your consideration the application for an extension, the first extension to Development Permit 98/22. This permit was originally approved by the Municipal Planning Commission on July 26 of 2023, and the applicant, which is 225-2206 Alberta Limited, also known as Cliff Resorts, is now seeking a time extension to continue progress on a visitor accommodation development located in Dead Man's Flats. Sorry, finding my own typos. In Dead Man's Flats. The applicant is represented by Marjan Shirazian. Sorry if I butchered that. As outlined in the letter of authorization included in your agenda package. Sorry. The applicant is, sorry. In today's presentation, we'll review the applicant's request to extend the existing development permit, which currently includes approval for 25 visitor accommodation units, 65 flexible accommodation units, retail and amenity spaces. The existing development permit also includes an approval variance of 1.2 meters to the maximum allowable building height under the Highway Commercial District zoning for Dead Man's Flats. The applicant is requesting that the development permit be extended to December 31st of 2026 to support the continued development activity at the site. Since the original approval in July of 2023, the applicant has made progress on the project. Notably, they have completed condition 11 of the original permit by entering into a development agreement with the MD, which was finalized in February of this year. In addition, in May of 2024, the applicant applied for and was approved for amendments that were required for the acquisition of the required building permits. That amendment was approved by this commission. An irrevocable letter of credit serving as security for the municipal improvements was received on March 3rd of 2025 as a requirement of that development agreement. An updated construction management plan has been submitted by the applicant and has been reviewed and approved by the MD of Bighorn's third-party engineer, Stantec. Construction fencing has been installed on site. Some site excavation has commenced. The applicant has also received an approved roadside development permit from Alberta Transportation. The applicant has provided two primary explanations for the delay of the project timeline. First, finalizing the development agreement required coordination with the town of Canmore regarding servicing connection fees. This intermunicipal collaboration took longer than anticipated and delayed the ability to finalize the required agreement. Second, the applicant is currently waiting for Fortis Alberta to complete the relocation of overhead power lines to the underground configuration located on the parcel to the north of the subject site. This is expected to be completed by mid-June. These circumstances are not uncommon for projects of this scale, and administration considers them reasonable justifications for requesting an extension. Planning and Development Services has reviewed the extension request and is in support of approval. However, we are proposing that the extension be valid for a 24-month period from the date of approval, granting a 24-month extension as it aligns with the standards of development permit approvals. Additionally, and similarly to our last application, administration is also recommending two amendments to the existing conditions to approval. These are administrative in nature and are intended to ensure consistency with the development agreement and the existing development permit conditions. The first amendment is to condition number 52. This condition originally required payment of connection fees specified by a specified date of February 24th. We are recommending that the language be revised to refer directly to the Registered Development Agreement, which provides a more accurate and enforceable framework for the collection of these fees. The second recommendation is the addition of condition number 58. This new condition requires the applicant to submit a construction management plan to the Development Authority for review and written approval prior to the commencement of construction activities. This aligns with section 1.1N of the development agreement. Although this condition has already been met by the applicant, administration feels it necessary to ensure that the development permit conditions align with the Registered Development Agreement on title, and would like to make these administrative changes. Time extensions to valid development permits do not require neighbor notification under the Municipal Development Plan or the Land Use Bylaw. Similarly, no additional referral process is required since the terms and conditions of the development are not changing, and the requested amendments are administrative in nature. Based on the information provided, the applicant's progress to date, Planning and Development Services recommends that the Municipal Planning Commission approve a 24-month extension to the development permit 9822, commencing on May 29th, 2025. We further recommend that the amended condition 52 and new condition of 58 be included in the updated permit. All other terms, timelines, and conditions of the original development permit. I see where your confusion is, Carolina. I'm going to restate that. All other terms and conditions of the original permit shall remain in full force and effect unless specifically altered through this extension. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Questions for administration?
Administration, can I get a copy of the construction management plan, or is that like a no-no?
We didn't provide it because it's not really, I'm sorry, through the chair. We didn't provide it because it's not something that is always required for the application, but we wanted to change the condition to ensure the site safety for the public and to make sure that the material storage and parking area has been provided. The other issue we have to this, so I'll preface this as well, part of the construction management plan identifies a temporary equipment, material laydown area and parking area that is not on this site. It is on the MD's site across the road on the north side of 2nd Ave, and that has not been approved yet by council. So we do have a public hearing coming up for that on June 5th. And then depending on the feedback we receive from the public, the equipment, material laydown area and temporary parking area may have to move. So the construction management plan has been accepted in principle for now. We've approved the shoring as well for the excavation, but we may have to amend the schedule that shows where the equipment, materials and vehicles will be. So that's the reason, the main reason why we didn't provide it is it's been approved in principle.
Wonderful, thank you. I also should have prefaced, I am a resident of Deadman's, so this was more curiosity for my sake because I drive past that site every day, so this is just me being nosy. June 5th for the public hearing? Yes, okay.
That's correct.
Yes, June 5th at 6 p.m. in the council chambers.
Thank you.
Any further questions of administration? Would the applicant like to speak? You are very, very quiet. I will assume that was a no, that you're good. You do not have to speak. I'm just giving you an opportunity.
Yes, we are good.
Thank you so much. That came through nice and clear. Is anyone prepared to make a motion?
I move to approve.
Approve staff recommendation? Perfect. Thank you. All those in favor? So carried. Thank you.
Just for the benefit of Rakesh and Manish that are online, you're free to leave the meeting. Your extension has been approved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, moving forward, we'll go to DP 2025-009.
Through the chair, this is Katie Stewart. I'm the Planning and Development Officer with the MD of Bighorn. I recommend that we move to either item 4 or 5. The applicants are present. I did speak with the applicant for item 3. He is unable to attend, but he would be available later on during the morning for a phone call if you had any specific questions.
Is that all right with the commission? Okay.
So we could like to give Heather just a little break. We could, are you sure? Oh, okay. So we'll go ahead and move to item, is it item 4? Yeah, item 4.
Where in the list shall we place number 3 so that
I would put it at the end.
at the very end? Okay,
At the
so we're
very
going to
end.
move 3 down to 6. Thank you.
Yeah. And then for item 5, that's one of the MD applications for the lagoon, the eggshell lagoon. That one can also get pushed down. The applicant for item 6 is also present for the gazebo in Harvey Heights. So we could do, what's the order here? So 4, 6, 3, and 5.
Okay, is this acceptable with the commission? Generally, we would have these changes at the beginning of the meeting, so I think I'm going to be able to follow along in my own notes appropriately. If I get out of sync here, I'll have administration help me. So we will move to DP 2025-019. Administration for your presentation, please.
Thank you. Again, my name is Heather Moore, and I'll be presenting development permit application number 2025-019, submitted by Joel Frazier, who is also the registered landowner of the subject property located at 2 Barrier Mountain Drive in the hamlet of Eggshaw. The property is legally described as Plan 3338, Block 5, Lot 1, and is within the Hamlet Services Residential District. The applicant is seeking approval today to develop a 2-level detached accessory building with the lower level serving as a 4-car garage and the upper level containing a 1-bedroom studio suite. Under the R1S district in the MD's land use bylaw, accessory buildings are classified as a permitted use. Typically, applications for a permitted use are reviewed and decided by the Planning and Development Officer. However, since the accessory building in this application contains a studio suite, which is classified as a discretionary use, the application has been referred to the Municipal Planning Commission for decision. Before presenting the key details of the application, I'd like to take a moment to verbally clarify a correction on page 392, which depicts the north elevation of the proposed structure. Specifically, the original proposed plans included a window at this elevation. However, during the necessary revisions to the drawings, this detail was unintentionally omitted in the updated version. A revised drawing has been provided this morning. Additional information was provided as well concerning a proposed change to the suite layout, which will be discussed later in this report. Key details. The subject site is currently developed with a single detached dwelling and a single detached garage. It is bounded by residential properties to the north and west, the Eggshaw Royal Canadian Legion to the east, and Hart Mountain Drive to the south. With regards to development regulations and compliance, the proposal aligns with the MD's land use bylaw, particularly sections 14.1 and 4.16, which regulate R1S district and studio suites respectively. Specifically, the site is outside the 100-year floodplain. The proposed accessory building and studio suite adhere to the maximum density allowed of the district of 1 principal dwelling and 1 studio suite. The proposed location of the accessory building and studio suite adhere to the setback requirements of the R1S district. After reviewing the application, after review of the applicable regulations of the land use bylaw and in alignment with previous development decisions regarding this parcel, the file manager has determined that the front of the lot faces Barrier Mountain Drive. So setbacks regulations have been applied accordingly. The proposed development meets the parking requirements in accordance with section 3.15 of the land use bylaw, providing 4 parking stalls within the garage with 1 stall dedicated to the studio suite. The exterior finishings on the accessory building will be constructed of hardy board siding and asphalt roofing, matching the color and materials of the existing home. The principal dwelling has a gross floor area of 179.21 meters squared, or 1,929 square feet. This includes a fully finished basement level. The studio suite measures 65.03 square meters. which constitutes 36% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling. This complies with section 4.16.2 of the land use bylaw, which permits a studio suite to occupy up to 40% of the gross floor area. Regarding the height of the proposed accessory building, section 14.5 of the land use bylaw stipulates that when an accessory building includes a studio suite, the maximum allowable height is 8 meters or 26.25 feet. The west half of the proposed accessory building, which contains the studio suite, measures 7.32 meters or 24 feet in height from grade at that point. The building transitions to a single level on the east side, where the height is reduced to 5.56 meters or 18.25 feet. The lower level of the building will serve as a garage for the primary resident, as well as the required parking for the studio suite, aligning with the definition of accessory building as subordinate use to the principal dwelling. All requirements for accessory buildings under 4.1 section 4.1, which are specific regulations for accessory buildings, have been met. As a requirement of section 4.16.11 of the land use bylaw, if approved, the applicant will be required to connect to both the existing dwelling and the accessory building with the studio suite to municipal water and wastewater. This is outlined in condition 18, if approved. With regard to referrals and adjacent landowner notifications, in accordance with section 42.4.3, adjacent landowners were notified of this development application on May 13th, 2025. Administration has received letters of concern from 3 adjacent landowners. These have been provided to the Municipal Planning Commission for consideration. The proposed accessory building has raised concerns with these respondents about its disproportionate size and scale compared to the primary dwelling, insufficient side setbacks impacting privacy, parking and driveway space concerns, potential disruption to the neighborhood's visual character and property values, and environmental risks related to drainage, stormwater runoff, and snow management. In addressing these concerns, administration provides the following information for consideration. With regard to the 1.5 meter setback on the north side of the property and the concern for privacy, the file manager has discussed this concern with the applicant, and the applicant has agreed to move the proposed window on the north side of the accessory building to the east side of the building, which means it would now face the Exshaw Legion. There will be no windows on the accessory building that would face a residential adjacent landowner. With regard to the size and scale and concern for lack of adequate parking, the proposed development does meet the requirements of the land use bylaw. The parking is contained within the garage with 4 spaces. In terms of size and scale, the only regulations of the land use bylaw that relate to the size of a building or accessory building on a parcel is height, setbacks, and site coverage. And the building meets all 3 of those. With regard to drainage, snow shedding, and stormwater runoff, these concerns are addressed in condition 10 of the development permit, if approved. The developer, and additionally, there are other sections of the land use bylaw that are enforceable in terms of developers' responsibility for maintaining site drainage and controlling runoff so that it doesn't affect adjacent land. Regarding concerns related to neighborhood character and property values, While administration acknowledges the validity of individual opinions on these matters, it is important to note that such concerns are inherently subjective and often influenced by factors beyond the scope of the planning authority. The application was referred to the MD's internal departments, including protective services and operational services. As part of the referral process now to operational services, an application for the proposed new driveway approach was submitted and subsequently approved. So the applicant does have a valid driveway approach permit. In conjunction with a development permit if approved. Protective Services noted in their comments that the accessory building, including the studio suite, must meet the National Building Code for fire separation from the garage and fire safety. These have been addressed in conditions 3, 25, and 26. Adherence to the National Building Code will be monitored and enforced during the building permit process. The application was referred to relevant agencies, including ATCO Gas, Fortis Alberta, and Alberta Transportation. No comments were received from ATCO Gas. Alberta Transportation responded that they have no concerns. Since the report was distributed, Fortis Alberta has completed a site inspection and has responded acknowledging that they have no concerns with the development regarding their equipment. However, they did point out that customer-owned connections to their equipment may require reconfiguring during the construction of the new building. Just that there are some secondary lines that could need to be adjusted. Based on the review of the application, Planning and Development Services recommends that the Municipal Planning Commission approve development permit application number 2025-19, subject to the proposed conditions. This recommendation is based on the following factors. The application aligns with the MD's land use bylaw and meets all the regulatory requirements. The proposed development supports the intent of the Hamlet Service Residential District and meets the regulations for studio suites. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Questions for administration?
I have one question for the commission. On page 402, with respect to the letter that the neighbor submitted, at point 1, they mentioned that the size of the secondary or the adjacent dwelling, would contravene section 14.74 of the bylaws. And just to confirm with administration, there's no issue with respect to that.
Thank you. Through the chair. Section 14.7.4, this refers to a front facade of a dwelling where an attached garage is situated and attached to the dwelling. It's intended to prevent the garage aspect of an attached garage from overwhelming the visual aspect of a dwelling. It's not intended for application to or reference to an accessory building. The proposed accessory building is situated such that the side that faces Heart Mountain Drive would not appear to be a garage. It's not attached to the house. And the garage doors do face the lane, or would face the lane, excuse me. And yeah, that section is pretty specific to attached garages.
Okay, I will take the opportunity to ask a few questions unless someone else has. In the beginning, you had talked about the front of this property, front-facing barrier.
Mhm,
Can you explain?
mhm.
Can
I
you
sure
explain
can.
that, please? Thank you.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I'll pull it up. Okay, so through the chair, the property is located at 2 Barrier Mountain Drive, which is the corner of Barrier Mountain Drive and Hart Mountain Drive. After reviewing the applicable regulations, as stated in the report, we've determined that it faces Barrier Mountain. The front yard orientation for the subject property has been previously established under development permits DP 1021 and DP 4815, both of which determine the front yard is being considered facing Barrier Mountain Drive. So a number of factors. It could be either one, but the goal is to remain consistent through the development of the property. It makes sense that it would be Barrier Mountain. We also can take into consideration the address, the civic address, as well as the building envelope of the property would be extremely restricted. And I don't believe that would be the intention of the lot. So does that answer your question?
It does, thank you. And I bring it up because, as you know, we're going through an LUB
Yes.
land use bylaw. Update, sure. I was going to go with overhaul, but you're right. It is an update. And as I was going through everything, it got very confusing in the land use bylaw for me, who I'm very familiar with it on how you would determine that.
Mhm.
And you addressing it to the civic address and to barrier,
Mhm.
I think will also help with consistency throughout,
Mhm.
knowing that now that we're getting deliveries in actual door-to-door deliveries,
Mhm.
that often it is mistaken that this building, number 2,
Mhm.
Hart Mountain Drive, is often mistaken for number 2 Pigeon.
Mm.
So having the consistency
Mhm.
throughout the community on Hart Mountain Drive, where it can be a little gray, I think is a good step forward. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think you answered this, Heather, but I'll just confirm it. When it talked about secondaries, you're talking about electrical lines. And I presume that these would have to be inspected by a electrical inspector before
Yes.
they're approved. Is
Yes,
that correct?
through the chair, yes.
Thank you.
Any electrical would require safety codes, officers, inspection and approval, in conjunction with any kind of collaboration with Fortis Alberta on their equipment as well.
Thank you.
Can you clarify the moving of the window
Sure.
and where it will be now?
Yes, I can. So if you look at the handout that I gave you, it's going to be, I apologize, it printed on front and back. You'll see a floor plan of the suite. And you'll see a red X where the window is on the original plans, which is the north side of the building facing the neighbor at 4 Barrier Mountain. In the bedroom, do you see the red X? So that window would not be there. It'll move to the right where the purple line is. Purple line would be the proposed new location for the window, which means it's actually serves as a better location for the window because it's now above the roof of the first level from a safety perspective. That allows an exit for the occupant in case of fire. And it also faces east, gets some better less sunlight, and no windows on the rear.
I'm just trying to get all my pages
Sure.
together, and visualize this in my own head
Yes.
because I did this wrong. So your attachment 13. The
Is-
first page of the new
yeah.
handout.
Yeah,
The circled window will not be there.
correct.
Okay, so that one's not happening.
Yep.
And
So on
So is it
attachment
now-
14, attachment, go ahead.
thinking attachment 15, is it on that side
Yes.
now?
No, that is what the proposed north elevation will look like. There'll be no windows. So on the bottom section, we removed the window, so now there's no windows on the back. The window being on the east side will face the lane. It'll be on the side of the building. That's how, I did not
So-
provide an updated drawing of that.
So will the window now be on the drawings that are on page 391 above the garage doors?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Just to make it 100% clear
Yeah.
for everyone watching.
yes,
So it'll no longer face the residence.
correct,
It faces the lane,
correct.
which is above the garage doors.
Yes,
So for anyone who knows the property, the whole garage is spinning as well.
correct,
Because there's a current one facing Hart Mountain and
right.
it will now onto the laneway.
That's correct. There'll be no drive onto Hart Mountain.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we'll get to questions of the applicant in just one moment. Administration,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about the floodplain
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about the impacts there.
Mhm.
Knowing this site
Mhm.
and the history,
Mhm.
what, because it's not in a flood fringe, however, it does make a beautiful creek when there is way too much water. What sort of flood mitigations are there for that? Or shall that wait for questions of the applicant? Okay.
Through the chair, the minimum elevation requirements that were provided by ISL several years ago only affected Mount McGilvery and Pigeon. There were no recommendations or concerns for this area.
I understand why that would have come through, given that the house is elevated. Okay.
Mm. Yeah, and through the chair, just to add to that, we currently don't have any requirements in the land use bylaw for any development that's outside of that fringe. But thank you for the question. I think that it does bring up information and for people to be proactive in their developments.
And get out to all of the LUB public houses. There's my plug. Okay, so let's have the applicant move to the table and we can ask questions of the applicant. And do you have anything to present or speak about or? Yep.
I don't really have anything to say except for the questions that are coming, I guess.
Okay, commission questions.
Joel, is it? Hi, Joel. 4-car garage. Assuming there are 3 cars in your permanent residence and there's 1 extra car for the suite, you're okay with the people from the suite being close to your car property or tools or whatever you might have in your garage? I just want to make sure you're okay with that. Yeah.
If and when I decide to rent out the suite, I haven't decided, but there will be 1 stall available
Yeah.
for their car.
Yeah, totally. And you're
Yeah.
okay with them parking in your garage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't trust people, so I'm glad that you trust people.
It'll be wide enough. There'll be plenty of room and
Okay.
I'll organize it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then my other question, I totally understand where the window's going. Happy that the window is there, that the people have a escape route if ever needed. Um, if they get, God forbid there's a fire and they have to use the window to get out, and now they're on the roof, and the low point of the roof is the 10-foot. Are we anticipating that people are gonna jump off the 10-foot roof? Or are we gonna put in like an emergency ladder situation?
I don't think it's any different than any other house that has a 10-foot roof that you're got to get out of. If it's
Okay.
on fire, you'll get out.
Yeah, totally fair. That was all. Thanks, Joel.
Through the chair, I'll just add that the building will have to meet fire code through the building. And then I'll also add just, we do at my house have a ladder in the garage, the closet. Good addition to any home for getting out of your house.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none?
Yes, I do. I've put forward my concerns and I find unfortunate that it's subjective and there's
Christine?
nothing.
My apologies. This is the form for commissioners with questions. We did receive your letter. Thank you. She can't. Okay, so I'll just continue with questions from the commission and then I'll give you an opportunity after, okay?
Okay.
Okay, sorry, Christine, I just had to double check to make sure that there was nothing else coming from this side of the table. And now you can have your opportunity to speak, please.
Okay.
And can you properly identify yourself for the record?
Hi, Christine Leclerc. I'm the forebearer. I'm the adjacent, direct adjacent neighbor.
Thank you. You can continue with your questions.
This planning has been in the works for months, and I heard for the first time last week. I am not close with Joel, with any of my neighbors actually, and I think that the procedures, the system should have allowed at least a month of notice for reviews, not just a week. I appreciate that the window is going to be moved on the east side, and I would like to find out more about the 12 feet peak at the suite, if that could be lowered down a bit.
Can you repeat that one more time, please, Christine? About the peak?
So the suite has a peak of 12 feet for the ceiling. Is there any way to reduce that so that the front, which is really the side of the building, would be not 26 feet, but maybe lower down? So it's not so imposing when you are next to it.
I'm not going to answer that right now. It would be something I'd have to think about, but the plans all meet the regulations as of now, and yeah.
Through the chair, just to clarify to Christine, and please, Christine, correct me if I'm wrong. You're referring to the overall height of the side of the building that contains the suite. Can it be lower than what it is currently? And saying that could the ceiling height of the suite be lower? What I do want to clarify that in those drawings is that the suite on the side of the, on the west side is actually 24 feet above grade at that point. And what we need to keep in mind when we are asking to redraw or rethink out plans like that is that height of the building includes the space that allows for a roof to have a pitch. So at the point where the lowest point of the roof, I believe the suite level is a normal height. Where it slopes up because of the roof space is necessary. So in restricting, trying to lower the site, the suite height would require significant changes to the roof pitch, which would ultimately affect drainage and things like that. So I would say that from an administration point of view or perspective, it would be difficult to lower that roof line any additionally.
Administration, can you also discuss the first question she had about the notification period, please? Can you clarify that?
Yes, the notification period is actually outlined in the MGA and our land use bylaw. Sorry, just the land use bylaw as a 15-day period. We follow that procedure for each application that requires notification. And yeah, there's not a change to that notification timeline would require a change to the land use bylaw.
I think I'll just clarify the 12-foot reference that was mentioned by the neighbor. I think in the elevations shown, yes, it is an overall height of 24 on the suite side of the apartment. It looks like the garage level is an 8-foot high ceiling, I would assume, something about that. And that would mean the remainder of the structure is roughly 12 feet tall. As a person who works in development, I understand that doesn't necessarily mean that the suite itself is a 12-foot ceiling. Realistically, it's probably going to be closer to 9-ish, just because of trusses and the way buildings are constructed, and I fully appreciate that. I do, however, understand where that confusion might have lied looking at documents at face value. And I know that the structure also slopes, so I anticipate that it's, lower in the bedroom and higher in the kitchen, living area end, my bad. So I think that's maybe just where the confusion lied, and I just wanted to clarify a little bit just as a face value.
Thank you.
I actually had one more question for the applicant. Wait, but I've forgotten it now. Hang on. Hang on, come back to me.
I was hoping that we were waiting for me while I forgot my land use bylaw binder on the desk. I was just going to highlight something out of it, so I'm just trying to do this electronically on a tiny device. So we will just take one more moment to gather all of our information and come back.
I remembered my question, so you're all good. Keep looking. I understand the neighbors' concerns for the disconnect between the house and the new structure in terms of height. I'm just wondering if you would know how tall your current permanent residence is, just to give kind of an idea. I know like 24 feet is kind of like a standard height for a home, especially if it's a like bungalow style house. So is it close to that 24 foot?
Yes, it's pretty much exactly that at the peak. So it's a different style of building. It's got a dual peak or a single peak, and this one's going to be on a slant. But actually, it's going to pretty much meet up perfectly at the top of the garage, the highest point of the garage compared to the peak of the house. I think it's going to flow and look good myself.
Yeah, so just for clarity, that the high point of the peak of the suite of the garage
Yes.
is going to be almost plain with your current standard gable roof on your current permanent residence.
That's right. It won't be any higher than the house, I don't believe. It'll be very close
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
because it actually sits lower in the laneway.
Yeah, for sure. It's lower in terms of grade compared to where your house is
That's
sitting
right.
currently, right?
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
May I ask another question or add a comment?
Sure, go ahead, Christine.
Joel, your house is 1 story. This building is 2 stories. This building will stand out. The roof line is going to be considerably higher.
The grade level at the alley is quite a bit lower.
Sorry, through the chair. Christine, all of your questions need to be directed through the chair and through the commission, not to the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Learning lesson for all of us. Okay, you have a response for that, Mr. Fraser?
So as I was saying, the grade at the alley is quite a bit lower than the house. Yes, it is a 2-story building, the garage, but the overall height is going to be pretty much the same height as the top of the house. And as far as I'm concerned, it meets all the requirements as it should. And I'm sorry.
Commission, is there any further questions? Christine, any further questions?
No.
Thank you. Okay, Commission, I will ask if there's a motion coming forward.
I will motion to approve this development permit for the garage accessory building suite situation.
Okay, so staff recommendation for, I've lost my numbers. Development permit 2025-19. All in favor? Thank you. That has been carried, and administration, you will follow up with the applicant. Thank you.
Through the chair, if we could just take a quick 5-minute recess, that would be appreciated. And thank you.
Thank you. I'll Okay, so I'll make the motion for a 5-minute recess.
I'll approve your motion.
Admin, are we ready to start again? Are we
Yes, we're good.
are we recording again? Or did we stop? Okay, so. Okay, so thank you. We will continue on in our new order, which will take us to Development Permit 2025-027, which will be page 501 or number 6 in the agenda. Administration for your presentation, please.
Perfect. Through the chair, thank you so much and good morning. Again, my name is Katie Stewart. I'm the Planning and Development Officer with the MD of Bighorn. So I'll be presenting development permit application DP 2025-027, which was submitted by, at the time, the current landowners Mark and Sue Gibson. Mark is present today. If you have any questions, Mark is happy to answer any questions of the commission. The application was for one accessory building in the form of a gazebo with a deck-style foundation. The property is located at 101 Bow River Drive in Harvey Heights, as you can see on the site plan on the screen above. The legal description is Plan 6402HX, Block 9, Lot Z. The land use district is the Hamlet Residential District R1. So the proposed development is a freestanding square wooden gazebo with a deck-style foundation. It measures 16.16 meters squared, which is 173.9 feet squared. The structure has a red metal peaked roof with a black mesh screening, and there's no utility hookups. It's for seasonal use with standard patio furnishing. The application seeks to formalize the structure with a request for a 100% front yard variance setback, so 0 meters from the property line, and a 100% eave projection variance, which is 0 meters from the property line. This structure was identified during a compliance assessment review, which was CA 2025-006, which is included in the agenda package. It showed that the structure was encroaching into the front yard setback, which was into the right-of-way, which was TransAlta. The applicant elected to apply for the variance rather than completely relocating or removing the gazebo. But he did move the gazebo back, so it's no longer encroaching into the right-of-way. The Hamlet Residential District R1 lists accessory buildings as permitted uses. The structure generally complies with all the land use bylaw accessory building standards, which includes the materials complement the primary dwelling, the fire safety, the MD's fire safety codes officer confirmed that there were no fire concerns, the minimal roof drainage and no encroachment onto the Alta Link right-of-way after the adjustments. For the variance request, we're leaning on section 4131 of the land use bylaw. This section is consistent with the Municipal Government Act under section 640 subsection 6, which allows MPC to approve applications that do not comply with the bylaw if the development does not unduly interfere with the neighborhood amenities or negatively affect adjacent properties. And 2, the development conforms to the prescribed use for the district. There were no objections received from adjacent landowners, referral agencies, or AltaLink. So if you look at the map above, there's to the, I guess, north is the Bow Valley Provincial Park. So it was also referred to the land management for the provincial parks, and they also had no concerns. The accessory building aligns with section 4.1 of the land use bylaw. The request is to preserve the backyard usability while addressing the identified compliance issue. Administration acknowledges that there's a unique lot orientation along, I think it's, what's the name of the street again? Bow River Drive. I'm not 100% sure why, but all the houses along Bow River Drive, it's lots 1 through, it says in the land use bylaw 5. This lot is Z, so I'm assuming it's just a typo in the land use bylaw. But the orientation for each lot is that the front yard is what's facing the highway and the backyard is what's facing Bow River Drive. Um, so there's a lot of compliance issues that come up with this just because most people don't realize that the front yard setback, which is quite significant, as opposed to what it normally is at that back portion, which is usually everyone's backyard. So yeah, it's a weird orientation. I'm not sure why it's like that in the land use bylaw. Um, so, um, So we acknowledge the unique lot orientation, which may have contributed to the misplacement. The MPC may consider approval under the discretionary powers outlined in the Municipal Government Act and the Land Use Bylaw. Administration supports approval of the requested variance, noting that there's no anticipated impacts to neighbors or public safety. We did provide Municipal Planning Commission 2 options. One is to grant the 100 front yard and E variance for 100%. And then option 2 was to approve a reduced variance to 30%, which is within the MPC's variance threshold, their typical threshold for variances, which would allow the gazebo to be moved to meet a 5.25 meter setback from the front yard. I'm happy to answer any questions. And then, as I mentioned, Mark is present if you have any questions.
Commission, questions for administration?
I have one question on behalf of the commission. So with option 1, my understanding is you leave the gazebo as is, and then option 2 is further move it in?
That's correct, yeah. Whichever MPC feels comfortable with.
And then I guess my follow-up question to that was, and that's maybe more appropriate to the applicant, is whether, I guess, that's doable with the restrictions of the property.
Through the chair, I believe the preferred option is option 1, which is to allow it to stay where it's located at. And yes, originally when we had suggested that it be moved, there wasn't much room to move it to, just based on the orientation of the property and where the house is set back from the rear setback. But Mark is present and he'd be able to elaborate a bit more on that.
Thank you.
Anything further for administration at this time? No? Is there anything you'd like to speak to? It sounds like you might have some questions, so. Thank you.
Hello? Did I say through the chair or? Yeah, the gazebo, yes, it could be moved, but it would put it on my septic field. And that's why yes, it could be, but it's not something, it's not advisable. Yeah,
Thank you
and
for that
with
clarity.
the orientation of the yard, as you saw in the picture, the front is the back, so you think your backyard is the back, but it isn't. It's the other way around, so you think it should be fine, but it's confusing. But I have moved it 18 inches inside, so there's no eave overhang now.
Thank you for that clarity.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Any questions?
Through the chair, how long has the gazebo been there?
2017,
2017?
correct.
And have you ever had any complaints about
No,
gazebo?
everybody wants to know where I got it from, so they can buy one. It's just a Costco erect, you buy it in a box and you build it, but it's very attractive. You need the mosquito netting though, for sure.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, I will ask one clarifying for administration. Normally these come through and you did highlight that normally the MPC would be looking at a 30% variance. I know granting this 100% variance is not actually precedent setting for us. We have done others. Um, and just to clarify for my own thought process, the reason why it would come forward at 100% and not the regular 30 is the land orientation and this front to back and what's perceived as front and back, and that there's no impact on any direct neighbors.
Through the chair, that's correct. And it's just applying good planning principles. And it's just, this allows you to do that. And as Mark said, if you did move it, then it would be in a location that's not suitable. So this is just to give that flexibility for MPC to apply discretion and to apply good planning principles. In this case, we feel like where it's located, Mark did a good job at where he put it. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. And is this street on a highlight list for LUB, and maybe any corrections that could or should be made?
Through the chair, the only issue is that we have been approving development on those 5 lots, so then changing the orientation would then result in a lot of non-compliance issues. So we'd have to be really careful about what we do, but we can certainly look at it.
Okay, I'll make it in my list of submissions that Ms. Gavin is about to receive. Is there any further questions from commission? Could I have a motion, please?
Chairman, the motion. Application 2025027.
The staff recommendation, perfect, thank you. All in favor?
Oh, just through the chair for option 1,
Oh, for option 1, Paul?
which
Yes,
is
for
the
option one, yeah.
100%
Okay,
variance.
option 1, staff recommendation for development permit 2025-027.
Correct.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried, thank you. So, according to my chicken scratch, and our changes, that will take us back to, will that take us back to development permit 2025-09?
Through the chair, yes.
Thank you. I'll ask administration to carry on with their presentation.
Perfect, thank you. Again, it's Katie Stewart's presenting. So I'm presenting development permit application 2025-009. This application was submitted by Woodland Mountain Homes Ltd., which is owned and operated by Bobby Richardson. So Bobby is just at a meeting. He should be done here soon. So if you do have any specific questions, he said that he is available for a phone call and he's more than happy to call in to answer any questions. The application is for a 1 resort accommodation unit, which is in the form of a single detached dwelling and includes 1 detached accessory building. The civic address of the property is 101 Brewster's Trail at the Kananaskis Ranch subdivision. The legal land description is Plan 2410875, Unit 1, and the land use district is the Kananaskis Ranch District, which is KR. The site is currently a Bearland condominium unit within the KR district, which permits resort accommodation units and discretionary accessory buildings. The KR district is part of the Kananaskis Guest Ranch Conceptual Plan, which supports recreational tourism development along the Bow River. The resort accommodation unit aligns with permitted uses within the KR district, supporting tourism goals with detached alpine style architecture. The accessory building is listed as a discretionary use requiring municipal planning commission approval, which is why the application is before the commission today. The architectural design includes natural materials, pitched roofs, dormers, stone cladding, and timber detailing, ensuring compatibility with the area's rustic aesthetic. This aligns with the Kananaskis Ranch conceptual scheme from 2010. The building heights and ground floor areas comply with the regulations. There's a 13-meter max height for the dwelling, and then there's a 6-meter for the garage, and a ground floor area, not gross floor area, under the 200 meters squared maximum. The water and wastewater servicing will connect to the Kananaskis Guest Ranch communal systems as part of the subdivision approvals and provincial requirements. In addition to the accessory building, which is discretionary, there are also 2 variances that are required to the Highway 1X setback, which are outlined in the KR district. Currently, the resort accommodation unit requires a 45% variance, reducing the required 40-meter setback to 22.04 meters. And the accessory building, which is a 9% variance, reducing the required setback to 36.42 meters. Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors, which is ATEC, raised no objections to the variances and confirmed that a roadside development permit would be required for this application. The 9% variance for the accessory building is within MPC's standard 20% authority under section 4131 or 43.33 of the land use bylaw. The 45% variance for the resort accommodation does exceed the threshold and is considered under section 4131, which allows approval of a non-compliant applications if the variance does not unduly interfere with the neighborhood, amenities, or affect adjacent property use, enjoyment, or value, or the proposed development conforms with the land use district's prescribed use. This flexibility aligns with the Municipal Government Act under Section 646, which permits municipalities to incorporate such variance powers into their land use bylaw. This enables the authorities like MPC to approve larger variance when justified and supporting by planning rationale. In this case, the variance is essential to provide functional building envelope, accommodate the site's unique context, and align with the KR district's intent. No objections were raised from referral agencies or adjacent landowners. The proposed development aligns with the KR district's objectives and the Kananaskis Guest Ranch conceptual scheme. Utilities utilizes the site layout consistent with the subdivision's design and envisioned building for the lands. That provides legal and physical access through Brewster's Trail and is compatible with Alberta Transportation's recommendation and environmental considerations. There were no objections from Alberta Transportation, Fortis Alberta, TELUS, Alberta Health Services, and any other referral agencies. The MD Fire Department raised building code compliance considerations to be addressed in the building permit stage, which are incorporated into the conditions. As mentioned, this application aligns with the Kananaskis Ranch District, the land use bylaw, and the conceptual scheme. The variances are justified due to the site context, and there's no adverse impacts anticipated. Administration recommends approval of DP 2025-009, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Mr. Clark?
Could you tell me where the water is coming from?
So to the north, there's a lot that's owned by the Brewster's Kananaskis Ranch. They installed a wastewater treatment facility. And that is in alignment with approvals from Environment and EPA, Environment and Protected Areas with the government of Alberta. So they have a water lease to get water for a communal system. And then they also have a wastewater treatment system in place. And it's
Thank
going to provide system to the whole subdivision.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Sure.
Familiar with the designation of is it called a tourist accommodation?
Through the chair, its resort accommodation is the use that's being applied to the building, which is in the form of a single detached dwelling.
And what is the function of the building?
It's for tourism purposes so it's not intended for permanent residency. It's intended for nightly stays or for recreational purposes by the landowner.
In respect to that, who then administers that building?
It would be the landowner. And then there's also, because it's condominiumized, there's condominium bylaws. So they'd have to adhere to the condominium bylaws that are in place as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions?
I have one question for administration. It might be irrelevant, but on page 193, when the applicant applied for the permit, he noted the reason was to help out with the housing crisis. So I just wanted to confirm that housing crisis would mean lack of tourism accommodation, not permanent residences.
Through the chair, we've made it quite clear to the applicant that the intention of this subdivision and the use is for tourism. It's not intended for permanent residency. I'm not sure why they had put that down in their application, but we've made it quite clear that that's what it's intended for, and it's also within the condominium bylaw that they have to follow.
How is that monitored going forward?
So it would be through compliance and monitoring through the development permit. So we now have our new compliance officer, which is Lori Hogarth. So essentially, once a development permit is issued, we can go and request that log of the guests that are staying at the unit. And then we can also do site visits as well. And then, of course, if there's any compliance, like complaints that come in, that would also prompt that as well. But through our new compliance officer, we'd be able to go out and do more regular inspections and request for those logs of the guests that are staying at the resort accommodation.
Thank you. I will have one more question, but I have to find it in my notes. My apologies.
I'll piggyback off of all of these things. So resort accommodation would encompass Copperstone and Deadman's, I would assume. No, does not. Okay, because that would be condominiumized, big words. Um, so this is different because it's a single detached dwelling with 5 or 6 bedrooms, whatever the plans indicate. I will assume the landowner is doing something along the lines of Verbo, maybe, or Airbnb to rent out either one room or the entire house at one time. Is that correct?
Through the chair, with the resort accommodation, it's a bit more flexible. So it's temporary lodging for visitors and guests. It just shall not be used as a primary residence. So they could use it for their own recreational purposes, or they could rent it out. It really depends on what the intent of what the individual owner wants to do with the property. But they can use it for themselves, or they can use it for temporary lodging of visitors and guests.
Okay, that clarifies it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, and then there's also there's that old building, Jenny, the old building that's on the property, the amenity building, that they would also have access to as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, so through the chair, this is the only area that has resort accommodation. In Harvey Heights and the Dead Man's Flats Highway commercial districts have the visitor accommodation, which are for the short-term rentals. So that's more of a new definition that was created, whereas this resort accommodation was used previously for things like Copperstone, but it's been recently revamped and updated. But it just happens that in this district, it's still resort accommodation.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm gonna keep going. Um, in the circumstance, if the landowner chooses to use it for personal uses for extended family or something along those lines, when we say they're logging their guests, in what regard is that mandated? Like, I understand that, when somebody's booking through Airbnb or Verbo, you have kind of an automated log because somebody's booked your suite. But in this circumstance, if the developer is using it for extended family and it's just a text message saying, we're coming up this weekend, and the text message gets deleted, how do you enforce that later down the road if somebody says so and so has been living here for 3 months?
Just through the chair, like they'd still have to adhere to section 4.20, which has the requirement for the operator to maintain records. So even if it is family members, they're going to need to keep some sort of log saying who's coming and going, just so that we can monitor what's going on at the site.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Are there any further questions? Do we need to get Mr. Richardson on the phone? Does anyone have any questions for him? No? Could you, for my mind, highlight the variances one more time? Thank you.
Yes, through the chair. So in the KR district, it has, let me just pull it up here really quick. So the KR district has these really odd setback requirements. So there's a property setback for west, north, and south, but there's nothing for east. And based on our interpretation, the Highway 1X setback was at 40 meters because that's typically the threshold for us to say this needs to be referred to Alberta Transportation. So I think this was more of like that it was put in place to provide a setback to the east, but it was to align with the requirements of Alberta Transportation. And then it's supposed to flag that we need to send this to them to get an okay. They responded back and they had no concerns. So from a planning perspective, they're the jurisdictional body for the setback to the highway. If they don't have any concerns, I don't see why we would have any. So for the resort accommodation, based on where it's oriented on the lot, it needs a 45% variance to the highway right-of-way. And then for the accessory building, because it's pushed back a bit, it only needs 9%.
Thank you. Mr. Clark?
There is a a caveat required by the municipality.
Not for this application, but there are caveats on title for the development agreement for the subdivision. And then there's also caveats on title from Alberta, oh my God, I'm gonna butcher it again, Environment and Protected Areas. Sorry, they keep changing their so there's some caveats on title for those types of things, but for this specific development permit application, there's no caveats required at this time.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Is there a motion coming forward? I have to get you to repeat that, Mr. Clark. Your microphone is not on.
Thank you. I'll make the motion to approve staff recommendation.
Okay, so we have the motion for staff recommendation for development permit 2025-009. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So I believe this takes us to development permit 2025-022. Am I correct in my notes?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, then administration, please take it away.
Thank you. I'll be presenting this application, which is DP 2025-0-22. This application was submitted by the MD of Bighorn. It's represented by Vicky Moses, which is present today, and then Pavel Machensky, who's with SEMA. So they're both present if you have any specific or technical questions regarding this application. This application is for upgrades to the Exshaw wastewater treatment facility. The civic address is the Exshaw Lagoon, which is located along Diamond Drive in the Exshaw industrial area. The legal land description is 991 or Plan 991-3384, Block 1, Lot 9. The land use district is the Hamlet Industrial District, which is HI. The application proposes upgrades to the existing wastewater treatment facility, which services the majority of Exshaw's residential, commercial, and industrial areas. This development includes construction of one accessory building, which is a new pre-engineered blower building, which is 72 meters squared, replacement and upgrade to the aeration systems, construction of a Sager treatment cell as a merged attached growth reactor, fencing improvements, electrical service modifications. The HI district lists public utilities and buildings as discretionary use and accessory buildings of this size as a permitted use. The discretionary use requires MPC's consideration for a formal approval. With the new blower building, it complies with the setback requirements outlined in the HI district and the height requirements as well. All upgrades, including the regrading and fencing, remain within the facility's existing development footprint, ensuring there's no encroachments or significant change to the land use or intensity. Administration would like to note that these types of developments are typically exempt from needing a development permit under section 42.2S of the land use bylaw. However, the MD elected to submit this application to formalize approvals, ensure transparency and integrity of the regulatory conditions. A previous variance was approved by Alberta Health Services in 2022 to reduce the required lagoon setback from 300 meters to 180 meters based on the site-specific factors. This variance remains valid and applies to the current upgrades. There was an environmental and cultural assessments prepared by AAR Environmental Services Ltd. This was a desktop overview to assess the potential environmental impacts and regulatory considerations. This review ensured no impacts to wetlands or sensitive areas and compliance with environmental standards. Approvals obtained were from Alberta Environment and Protected Areas. There were no concerns from the Ministry of Alberta Culture and the Status of Women or Alberta Indigenous Consultation Office. The Historical Resources clearance was managed under the Historical Resources Act, and the approval was, I'm not going to say the whole number, that's a long number. The project was screened through Alberta Indigenous Consultation Office and determined that no Indigenous consultation was required. The environmental impacts were assessed and deemed acceptable with no impacts to any sensitive areas. This application was referred to external agencies, and there were no objections from Fortis, CP Rail, Canadian Western Natural Gas, which is ATCO, or the MD Fire Department. Adjacent landowners were also notified. There were no responses or concerns received. So the upgrades align with the intent and purpose of the HI district and the land use bylaw, which supports public utility uses and infrastructure improvements. The proposed work maintains the integrity of the site and meets setback, height, and development regulations. The environmental and heritage considerations have been addressed, and no Indigenous consultation was required. There's no negative impacts on adjacent properties or wetlands. So the application's consistent with the land use bylaw, and administration recommends approval of DP 2025-022, including the construction of the new blower building and associated upgrades. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from commission?
Just a comment, Madam Chairman, as my experience on council, this has been a long time coming, and I'm very pleased to see it. So I'm pleased to make the recommendation for approval of development permit 2025-022.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? I will also echo Mr. Clark's sentiments. This has been a long time coming, and our actual community does need this, and I'm really appreciative of the transparency that this creates. So, thank you. We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Clark. All in favor? Thank you. That has passed. And I do believe that we have now discussed all of our applications. If I've gone through my chicken scratch appropriately, and seeing we have no subdivision applications, no new business. Our next scheduled meeting is Wednesday, June 25th at 9 a.m. May I please motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.